I don't really know how to start this, so I'm just gonna kind of go into it. Obviously, I've never really done a video like this before. The Switch 2, right? The successor to one of Nintendo's most successful consoles. I'm not buying it. I'm not excited. I'm not pre-ordering. I'm not buying it yet. That's a big yet. I think that as a console, the Switch 2 doesn't deliver what it should be delivering in big 2025. I think it's great that the console is going to be playing 1080p handheld, have 120 frames, 120 Hz screen, 4K docked. I think that's all well and good. If it was maybe like 5 years ago, I just don't think that it meets the standards of what a console should be releasing in 2025. I mean, I listed those things out as pros, but that's kind of where the pros list stops for me, because in a way it's also kind of a con. I think that the specs on the Switch 2 are what the Switch 1 should have come out with back in 2017, back when things like the PS4 Pro were coming out, the Xbox Series S or whatever it was. I don't know, there's like 50 different Xboxes. I think that as a console, the Switch 2 is a little bit disappointing. Now, don't get me wrong, I loved the Switch. I think the Switch might be my most played on console that maybe wasn't my old Xbox 360. Day one, the Switch launches, and its major first party game to come out with it is Mario Kart World. Don't get me wrong, I love Mario Kart, but Mario Kart World looks like somebody just stepped up in the boardroom and said, what if we just did the Ubisoft thing and made it open world? I really don't feel like Mario Kart needs to be open world, and I think that open world is kind of a cop-out for a lot of games these days, especially in Nintendo, as we saw Pokemon go open world, obviously really piggybacking off of the Zelda Breath of the Wild series. Not every game needs to be that, and Mario Kart definitely does not need to be that. I don't want long stretches of open road while I wait for the next track to load. I think that looks incredibly boring to just drive around with friends and see, I don't know, the open desert, find a special blue coin and, I don't know, unlock some photo or something. Who's spending all the time doing that? And for $80, if you're not buying the bundle, which is a good time to talk about the price. First off, $450 for the Nintendo Switch on its own. Like, when you look at the Steam Deck that sells for the same amount of storage and same LCD screen, it's $399, but the Switch is launching at $450 for essentially a bit higher resolution on the screen. That being said, it's also launching with an LCD screen, which means there's probably going to be an OLED release of the Switch 2 probably like 2 years down the line that's going to sell for like an easy $500 starting. So it still doesn't feel like it's the finished console even on day one of release. My other issue is that $256 for a new gen console and trying to run these new gen games, new gen in kind of like quotation marks at this point, doesn't feel like a whole lot at the end of the day. Sure, it's a lot compared to the Switch 1. When you think about how they were promoting Hogwarts Legacy on the Direct, that game needs 85 gigabytes of available space just for you to download it. Not to mention your save data and everything. It also says it's gonna need like a 17 gigabyte day one patch. That's already 102 gigabytes of your 256. Almost half. It's like a solid 45% of the entire storage on the console for one game that you've probably already bought on PC or Xbox or PlayStation. It just doesn't feel like the Switch comes with games that you actually want to play. And it kind of brings me to my next point about the Switch 2, is that it feels like they're selling me a $450 console to play games that I already own. I mean, think about it. Human Fall Flat, Elden Ring, Final Fantasy VII, Fortnite, all of these games I can have on different consoles running at better speeds and with better performance. And I think that's really my fundamental problem with the Switch 2 right now, is that it doesn't seem like a console that has games that I want to play. It's more of a console that I can use to play games I've already played before. It just feels like the Nintendo Switch 2 is following the same style that a lot of the gaming industry does right now, where it's ship first, add content later. And I think that that's really disheartening for a billion-dollar company like Nintendo that's supposed to be one of the innovators, I'll say, of game systems. The fact that the Donkey Kong game isn't even launching day one on the Nintendo Switch 2, I think is such a misstep to begin the console's life cycle. You only have Mario Mario Kart World as your premier first party game. And all of us just got DLC for Mario Kart 8. What are we gonna switch now for and then not be able to play it with people who only have a Switch 1? Because this game only is exclusive to the Switch 2. It just feels like we're kind of getting forced into the Switch 2 rather than having something to really look forward to. I get it's a new console. I get people get excited for these things. And sure, I know that the games are coming. I know that we have Metroid on the way. I know that there's Pokemon, Silk Song, that one FromSoft game that every Bloodborne fan is going to be playing. I'm not even going to get into the huge issue of game key cards because honestly, the technology and the wording kind of goes over my head a little bit. From my understanding, it's like you buy the game and then you have to download it to actually play it. So you're buying essentially a licensing key and don't actually own it. I'm going to be real. Somebody probably knows how to explain that in a much more informative way, but I still think that it sounds really scummy. The point of this video is just to kind of say that I think Nintendo really slept their way through announcing the Switch 2. I don't think much thought was put into the consumer experience of purchasing a new console and what that would really mean for us as we enter a new era of gaming post PS5 and Xbox Series X. I really don't think that the Switch 2 is doing anything more than catching up on lost time from like 2019 and is not doing it very well, to be honest. I'm really disappointed by the Switch 2 launch, and I hope that in the future I'm proven wrong and they start announcing more and more game titles that make the Switch 2 look like an appealing jump from the Switch 1. But for right now, I'm really not convinced. Feel free to let me know down in the comments if you agree or disagree. I'd love to know what your thoughts are on the Switch 2's release next week and whether or not you feel like you'll be buying it before the end of 2025. And I'm kind of looking to do more talking head videos like this, so if you kind of like what I'm saying or you like listening to the Yap Sesh, then maybe click the subscribe button and see what else I have in store.